Munchausen syndrome is a factitious disorder, a psychological disorder in which an individual deliberately fakes, exaggerates, or induces illness or injury. Munchausen is not the name of a famous doctor. According to English National Health Services, Munchausen refers to a German character named Baron Munchausen who would lie about going on adventures in faraway lands. This name, of course, is closely connected to the disorder because people with Munchausen fake an illness. Munchausen has its distinct category because those with the syndrome act for attention. A person who is sick will always get attention from their peers and family, who will be worried about their well-being. This has been identified by famous sociologist Talcott Parsons as the sick role. A person with Munchausen craves this feeling to the point that they will act or be hurt to get it. Even if their peers and family eventually cut ties with them after seeing their behavior, a medical professional cannot legally deny them help and thus the attention they need. To further explain Munchausen, we can first talk about two similar conditions, hypochondriasis and malingering. Hypochondriasis is the constant belief that you are ill. People who are hypochondriacs do not intentionally manipulate others and create the common belief that they are ill. People with Munchausen know that they are faking it. Malingering is when an individual pretends to be sick or injured to avoid punishment, or commonly to receive pills and get high. However, people who malinger work logically and do not do it because they have a mental illness. People with Munchausen do not seek any physical rewards for this deceit. They only want the attention. This concept is further explained in Knowing Better's fantastic video on the topic, which will be linked in the description below. The DSM-5 lists two types of this disorder, Munchausen syndrome, where a person acts sick themselves, and the more well-known Munchausen by proxy. In this case, the person with this mental disorder does not make themselves sick, but instead abuses a child, senior, or other vulnerable individual, and experiences care and attention vicariously through them. According to HealthLink BC, those with Munchausen by proxy were likely medical professionals in the past, and have the knowledge to harm the person in their care in specific ways that mimic illness. One of the most famous incidents of Munchausen by proxy concerned the Blanchard family. According to ABC News, Mother Dee Dee Blanchard convinced the entire world that her daughter, Gypsy Rose, had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and several learning disabilities, when in fact she was a normal little girl. However, Dee Dee would punish her daughter and feed her pills to force her to keep up the act. She would also alter medical records and Gypsy's birth certificate to make her seem younger and weaker. The pair received many free trips and donations from their community, and even a whole house, Habitat for Humanity. The world was convinced that Dee Dee Blanchard was a good mother. It was only after she had found dead when the truth was revealed. Gypsy Rose, having suffered this abuse for all of her childhood, met a man online who helped her become a mother. Here is her speaking on Dr. Phil.
Put in a wheelchair. And you were 7 years old, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did she tell you you were going in the wheelchair?
I did get into a motorcycle accident with my grandfather, and it skinned my knee. And she took me to the hospital and then told me that the doctor gave her a wheelchair, and I have to be in a wheelchair now.
Forever?
Forever. She had me use a walker before the wheelchair, and then after that motorcycle accident, put in the wheelchair.
Why did she tell you you had to be on a walker?
She said that I had muscular dystrophy.
But did you feel any different the day before you got the walker than the day you did have the walker?
No, sir.
You were able to run around?
Pretty much, yes.
And would you forget to get it and run into the kitchen?
There would be times that I'd forget to grab it and then go to walk, and then my mom would catch me and be like, use your walker.
I questioned Dee Dee about it, and I'm like, she can walk or not? You know, she's gonna be in a wheelchair all her life. And you know, the answer I got from Dee Dee was, you know, she had a disease she was diagnosed with, and it was gonna progressively get worse, and eventually she was gonna be bound to the wheelchair at all times.
Did she tell you when you went out that you were to stay in the wheelchair?
Yes, sir, she would.
But you knew you could walk.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever say to her, Mother, I can walk. Why am I in this wheelchair?
No, sir, I never asked that.
When she wasn't around, did you get up and walk secretly?
I did, yes, sir.
Did she ever catch you walking?
She did a couple times.
And what did she say or do?
She got so upset with me, she would punish me so bad. Like, she started hitting me with a coat hanger and telling me all kinds of mean things. She would tell me that she wished she had an abortion when she had the chance, that I ruined her life, that I have no idea how hard it is to keep up everything she built.
Did you understand that you being sick was necessary to keep up what she built? Because you got a house from Habitat for Humanity, you got donations, you got different things from people for being sick.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a source of income for her, right?
It was, yes. And I had no idea that I was a part of that.
You didn't know that you were a cash cow?
No.
Dee Dee got a house from Habitat for Humanity. They would have free trips here and there, free flights. She was getting some money from a couple of celebrities. Their life was full of free stuff, I guess, fun stuff.
The Blanchard scammed many different charities and lied to many different charities across the U.S., including churches and support groups.
Dee Dee Blanchard was exaggerating her daughter's medical condition for financial gain.
You were diagnosed with epilepsy about this time as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And so they started giving you Tegretol, and it caused your teeth to crumble.
Yes, sir.
Did you know what was happening at the time?
No, I really didn't. I just didn't understand why my teeth were falling out. I had to have them extracted. I just knew I was losing teeth.
But you know now you didn't have epilepsy.
I know now.
You know now you didn't need to be in that wheelchair. You know now she was making all of that up. After you went in the wheelchair, you had a feeding tube inserted.
Yes, sir.
Did she tell you why?
My mother told the doctors that I couldn't eat, so they put a permanent feeding tube in.
Looking back, are you suspect as to what she might have been putting in that tube? Could she have been poisoning you in some way to keep you sickly?
Munchausen may be caused by emotional trauma or neglect experienced during childhood, or may come as a package deal with a personality or mood disorder. Emotional trauma or neglect would result in the individual needing constant care and attention when they're older, so they may act sick to get it. People who are very ill as children, or had a family member who was, are more likely to develop Munchausen, as they associate being sick with being cared for and loved. Personality disorders justify the behavior in the mind of the victim, and come with a need for control, anxiety, and an unstable sense of self, which are also found in those with Munchausen. Though we are unsure of whether Munchausen syndrome is heritable or not, personality disorders themselves have been designated as moderately heritable by a 2010 study, and can manifest in a child with specific genetic and environmental triggers. A person with Munchausen has a vague and contradicting history of being hospitalized. Their medical records may have been forged or altered. They may be eager to have complex and dangerous medical procedures performed on them. Finally, their illness worsens when attention is turned away from them, like if they are about to be discharged from the hospital. It is easier to identify Munchausen by proxy, especially if their victim can testify against them. If the supposed caregiver reports the symptoms to medical professionals and in general speaks with the child or a vulnerable person, and is stressed or unhappy when the victim is improving, they are suspect. A large and common red flag is whether the other individuals related to the caregiver died without proper explanation. According to NHS.uk, those typically affected by the Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy syndromes are women who are 20 to 40 years of age with a background in healthcare, or unmarried white men who are 30 to 50 years of age. Munchausen is primarily a psychosocial disorder, not a pathophysiological one, so it is not the result of abnormalities in the brain. No logical studies have been conducted on Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy, as they are rare and difficult to diagnose. Therefore, they can't be treated using pharmacotherapy. The exception would be those who have borderline or histrionic personality disorder as well as Munchausen, who will have issues with their limbic system and frontal lobe and will require antidepressants. Munchausen is commonly treated using psychotherapy, but the prognosis for the condition is poor. Individuals tend to revert back to their previous behavior even after treatment. Munchausen is said to be relatively unknown. I attempted to confirm both these claims by surveying youth and young addicts. Out of 43 responses, 50% of individuals did not know what the disorder was. Over 60% of individuals also said that they did not suspect anyone of having the disorder. 67% of individuals actually reported to have never heard of a Gypsy Road Blanchard case, which is arguably the most famous and sensationalized case of Munchausen's by proxy. Munchausen may be so unknown because it is a rare disorder. According to a 2019 study, only 1% of patients in a clinical setting have Munchausen syndrome. For reasons as to why this is, I emailed a psychotherapist and a Canadian certified counselor, Yasmin Karimi. To quote her, Munchausen is difficult to diagnose, and this is due to several factors. First, the patient themselves may refuse treatment altogether, as they may not see the problem that they have. Another may be that they could be extremely manipulative and dishonest about their diseases or health conditions, making it hard to differentiate between the real and fake illnesses. Some also spend long periods of time traveling to different areas and different hospitals, faking different symptoms and illnesses, with completely new identities, making it harder to track their medical history. Yasmin has not seen any Munchausen syndrome cases through her 9 years of practice. So, here's the deal. You shouldn't care about Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy unless you're a medical professional or work with vulnerable persons like children or the elderly. What you should be more worried about are the disorders and the conditions that can cause it to occur, such as substance abuse, depression, anxiety, or personality disorders. By identifying and aiding individuals with those conditions, we prevent them from developing Munchausen as well. The syndrome can also be prevented by monitoring current medical professionals and caregivers for misuse and abuse, which can point to them developing Munchausen in the future as well. To conclude, you really don't need to worry. But here's one last thing to think of. If you notice someone who frequently goes to the doctor and doesn't appear sick, or see them behaving in a controlling way to a sick person they take care of, maybe they're not what meets the eye.